Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the fascinating origin story of a company that literally changed how we consume media. We'll be unpacking key excerpts and takeaways from Marc Randolph's book, That Will Never Work: The Genesis of Netflix, Iteration, Culture, and Resilience.
Let's kick things right off with Chapter 1, which has the perfect title, Against Epiphanies.
Right out of the gate, Randolph completely dismantles this romantic myth of the sudden light bulb moment. You know, the one where a genius wakes up with a billion-dollar idea. Yeah, that didn't happen here. Instead, he and co-founder Reed Hastings would just bounce ideas off each other during their morning carpool. We're talking pitching everything from customized shampoo to dog food delivery. None of it really seemed viable, until eventually the concept of a DVD by mail service bubbled up to the surface.
Randolph makes a really strong point here. Entrepreneurship isn't about waiting around for some divine inspiration. It's about testing dozens of totally imperfect ideas until you find the one that actually sticks. This really sets the stage for the entire Netflix story. As you'll see, it's not a tale of pure genius. It's a story of raw persistence.
Moving on to Chapter 2, The Birth of an Idea. The concept really started to crystallize back when DVDs were a brand new technology. So how did they test if this would even work? Well, Randolph just took a single disc, popped it in a padded envelope, and mailed it to Hastings. Sure enough, it arrived completely intact, proving the basic feasibility of the concept. That one tiny, simple experiment, that became the foundation of Netflix. So, what's the big takeaway for us? It's pretty clear. Massive, industry-defining businesses almost always start with incredibly small, scrappy tests. You have to validate your basic assumptions long before you ever try to scale.
Which brings us to Chapter 3, From Brainstorm to Business. Randolph talks about taking this newly validated idea and pitching it to skeptical investors. He even pitched it to his wife, who famously gave the book its title when she told him, "That will never work."
But despite the heavy skepticism, they pushed forward anyway. Their very first office was this cramped little space right above a bank in Scotts Valley, California. Pictures secondhand furniture and just a small handful of employees. It really captures those humble startup beginnings, proving that a rock-solid belief in your vision matters way more than having unlimited resources. Okay, now for Chapter 4, Launch Day Chaos. It's April 1998, and Netflix officially launches. And honestly, it was absolute chaos. The website completely crashed under a massive wave of unexpected traffic, which actually forced the employees to physically run down to Fry's Electronics just to buy more servers. Randolph fondly looks back at the frantic energy of those early days. It took a ridiculous amount of improvisation and teamwork just to keep the dream alive. It's a great reminder for any aspiring founder. Startups rarely, if ever, launch smoothly. True resilience is your real differentiator. So, how did they get from there to the streaming giant we know today? That's covered in Chapter 5, Early Pivots. At first, Netflix was actually focused on selling DVDs online, basically trying to compete head-to-head with Amazon. But sales quickly plateaued, and Randolph realized that rentals were the actual future. They tried a pay-per-rental model, but the logistics were just way too clunky. The massive breakthrough finally came when they introduced the subscription model. You pay a monthly fee, you get unlimited rentals, and absolutely no late fees. This was a total game changer. It completely redefined customer expectations and became Netflix's signature move. But they still had a big problem. DVD players were pretty rare in most households at the time. In Chapter 6, Building Partnerships, we see how they tackled this hurdle. To accelerate adoption, Netflix teamed up with major manufacturers like Sony and Toshiba to slip free rental coupons right into the boxes of new DVD players. This was brilliant. It massively boosted their visibility and created an instant pipeline of new customers. It goes to show how strategic partnerships can amplify your reach way beyond traditional advertising. In Chapter 7, Culture as a Superpower, we get to look at the internal workings. Randolph, along with Patty McCord, intentionally shaped Netflix's corporate culture around honesty, freedom, and responsibility. Their philosophy was simple: hire adults and treat them like adults. Even when they had to make painful layoffs during the dot-com crash, they prioritized transparency and dignity above all else. This chapter really drives home that a good company culture isn't just about having ping-pong tables in the break room. It's the actual backbone of your company's resilience and innovation. And speaking of resilience, we absolutely have to talk about Chapter 8, Facing Blockbuster. It's the year 2000, and Netflix goes to Blockbuster to pitch a partnership for $50 million. And Blockbuster literally laughed them out of the room. At the time, Blockbuster was this colossal $6 billion giant, and Netflix was hemorrhaging cash. But you know what? That rejection became the ultimate rallying cry for the Netflix team. It's the classic lesson of how giant incumbents almost always dismiss disruptors, right up until it's too late. Chapter 9: Weathering the Storm. Shortly after that famous Blockbuster meeting, the dot-com bubble burst. Suddenly, Netflix was facing very real existential threats. The layoffs were brutal. Team morale was shaky. And even their own investors started seriously doubting if they'd survive. Yet, against all odds, they made it through. How? Through relentless experimentation, strong mentorship, and an unwavering belief in that subscription model. Randolph's storytelling here is incredibly raw. He really captures the heavy emotional toll of entrepreneurship. It proves that pure grit matters just as much as a clever business strategy. Chapter 10: Personal Lessons. Randolph closes out the book with some profound reflections that apply to basically any endeavor, not just building Netflix. First, start before you're ready. If you wait for the perfect conditions, you're literally never going to start. Second, failure is just feedback. Every single misstep is just another data point to guide your next iteration. And third, success is redefined. It isn't just about financial gain. It's about personal growth, resilience, and the impact you leave behind. Let's wrap up with the broader themes and key takeaways from this incredible story. The rise of Netflix wasn't sparked by one single brilliant aha moment. It was the result of messy, iterative experimentation. It required crucial pivots and smart partnerships to adapt to the reality of the market. It demanded a strong, unshakable company culture to sustain morale during the darkest crises. Ultimately, it was that combination of resilience and long-term vision that transformed early skepticism into one of the most iconic business stories of our time. So I'll leave you with this. What's your that will never work idea? And when are you going to start testing it?